So I want to show you a couple of different quotes. These are actual quotes from clients of mine. This is one of my clients, Carla. She came to me, she goes, I feel so disconnected from the audience. As if there's some wall between us, which I can't penetrate. I just know I lose them. I don't know how many people that feels familiar to. And here's my other client, Matt. He said, Erin, when I walk on stage or that camera turns on, because remember, the camera's big now, it's not going away, I freeze up. I suddenly don't feel like myself. And then there is Kyle, and he says, I get so nervous and wrapped up trying to be perfect that I end up reading my notes and looking at the slides rather than connecting with my audience. And then there is Colleen. And she had told me, she goes, often I find I am comparing myself to everyone else in the room, and I hold back speaking up or sharing my thoughts because I'm afraid I'm not as smart or eloquent as everyone else. I don't know how many of you have ever felt that, but that was a big one for me. So with all of these in mind, I want to do a real quick poll, if you guys are okay with that. Kadafi's going to put it up. So here's the question for you. When it comes to speaking on stage, and when I say stage, we're talking about you walking into a room. If it's a presentation in front of your team, if it's like getting in front of the leaders of the company, we're not just talking about the big stage. Which one of these statements applies to you? So I am completely comfortable on stage. I can't wait to go on. I feel there's an impenetrable wall between me and my audience that makes me feel disconnected from them. I often freeze up. I either can't move or my voice seems to not come out. I end up reading my notes rather than connecting to the audience. And the last one, I'm afraid I'm not smart or well-spoken as everyone else. So if everybody would just kind of click through, I'd love to see which one you relate to the most. All right, interesting. All right, okay, guys, I'm impressed. I'm completely comfortable on stage. I can't wait to go on. Totally impressed. I love this. Okay, this is a good place to start. So here's the thing. And then those other three too. I like those three there. I end up reading my notes. I often freeze up. That's very, very common. Though those were quotes from actual clients, I can tell you across the board, those are very, very common. So let's see here. I want to make sure this is moving again. There we go. So here's the thing. I know some of these sounded familiar to you. And just so you know that all of those statements, every single one of those were familiar to me. So I spent a good chunk of my career in corporate America, and I hated presentations. I hated being in front of the room. And most people thought, what are you talking about? You're an actress. And it wasn't that. It's just that a lot of those statements you just saw was the script that would go through my mind as well. And it wasn't until a moment in my career, it was a pivotal moment when I discovered the power of owning my voice and my presence and no longer comparing myself to anybody else was a game changer for me. And I was working at an agency at that time. I was going into a major presentation that it was for a huge, huge contract, that if we lost this contract, it would have meant the elimination of 50% of our company. And I had to present at this with 5 other people. And I was deathly afraid because I'm like, I can't do this. Oh my God, I can't do this, because I'm always comparing myself to other people. And we finally got into this room, and I watched our CEO go, and then I watched our VP go. And they sounded great. They sounded smart. They were very businesslike. They had all the right terms, the right everything, and they sounded so good. And then the VP went, she was great. And then it was my turn. And it was at that moment when those fears, those things that you just saw, the reality hit me that, Erin, you have to just be yourself. Just talk to the audience. Just talk to these 30 people that basically had our agency's life on the line. And I just was myself, and I started to tell the story, and I was doing a case study, and I was looking at people, and I was telling them, how we succeeded and how we made HP look great, and went on and on and on, and looking at them, touching them, making them laugh. Presentation's over, we leave, we go back, come to find out that the head of this whole thing told my boss that if they were smart, they would have had Erin do the whole thing. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And it dawned on me when I actually stopped comparing myself to everybody else and I was just Erin and I was the creative, expressive, and no longer measuring what I said and was just me. That made the difference. And that was the aha moment for me, where it's like, the power of our own voice. That's what the world wants.